Welcome to the July 2nd, 2024 Albany County Commission meeting. I'd like to call the meeting order. Commissioner Jones.
Present.
Commissioner Ibarra.
Here.
Commissioner Gosar also here. And if you'd stand and join me with the Pledge of Allegiance, I'd appreciate it, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So we have a few public hearings today. We'll take them one at a time. And if you have a public comment on any of the public hearings, we'll go into the room first, and then we'll go online, and then there'll be a last call for those, and we'll take them one at a time. So the first public hearing I'd like to open up is the transfer of the restaurant liquor license from Old Corral Mountain Lodge Incorporated, doing business as Old Corral, to Old Corral LLC, doing business as Old Corral Hotel and Steakhouse. Would anybody like to speak on or against the transfer of the restaurant liquor license? And how about online? Last call in the room and online for the transfer of the restaurant liquor license from Old Corral Mountain Lodge Incorporated to Old Corral Hotel and Steakhouse. Commissioners, I entertain a motion to close that public hearing.
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye. That motion carries. I'd next like to open up the public hearing for the Barnhart Zoning District Amendment, ZDA-01-24. Would anybody like to speak on or against the Barnhart Zoning District Amendment, ZDA-01-24? Please come on up. For or against. Yep. And if you just state your name, if you're not from Albany County, we'll give us your hometown. But if you're from Albany County, don't need to say a word. Where we go.
Definitely from here. I appreciate you all having us. I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I'm a retired Ohio Department of Natural Resources employee for 28 years. Decided we wanted to live in Wyoming. So what we're wanting to do is a 20-acre split of our 40-acre lot on Wild Horse Ranch. We are surrounded by federal, state, and national lands that I feel has been set up well to protect our wildlife from our development. And I can give this to you.
Can I ask you for just a minute because it's very, very difficult to hear you because of the noise in the fans. And I know people in the back of the room can't hear you.
Usually he has it turned off, so I just texted him. I think Anissa did too. So
Okay, I apologize.
Yeah,
It's really loud.
It is really loud. We really have to shout.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, my voice just isn't
Thank
very
you, Gary. I
strong.
did the same.
Can
I
we get your
apologize.
name?
Tammy Barnhart.
Thank you, Tammy.
And I have a map here that would be of interest to you all that I brought, showing where our location exactly is on the ranch and the.
Can we get you to wait just a second to get this fan turned off?
Okay.
So the rest of the people in the room can hear you.
Should have had a mic. Yeah, but can I let you look at
Sure.
this?
Sure.
While we're
Yeah,
waiting?
that's a good idea.
Our property's on 357, which is clear. If you're looking at that map, would be over to your right. You'll see Calistoga Road. Okay. And then our daughter's property joins that, our property.
Did you get a response or anything?
I didn't from Anthony, but Adam turned it off. So Adam's gonna turn it off.
Okay, great.
357, Terry.
Yeah, I get it.
Takes it just a minute.
Just tell me what should I say?
You'll hear it, it'll
go off.
It'll go off. It'll be definitely different. Change. And we need it off for the rest of the meeting anyway, it's not just you. It doesn't need to be any cooler in here today.
Right. Maybe if they'd run it all night, make it really cool and then shut it off.
Usually they have it shut off by now. So normally we have it on a schedule.
There you go. There we go.
Sorry, Tammy, go on.
Yeah,
ahead,
thank
please.
you.
Okay. As I was stating, I retired from Ohio Department of Natural Resources for 28 years, which I love that job very much, but we wanted to be here with our children. And what we would like to do is do a 20-acre split of our 40 acres. This has went through the county and all of the channels thereof. And the HOA also allows that for our property. They actually allow for 10 acres because of the amount of property that we have. We are not fenced out or have any intention of fencing wildlife off of our property like some of the other properties have. But what we would like to do is split that into 20 acres. That's why we're here today to do that. I know there has been on lot 207, which I'm sorry I didn't show you on this map. They did recently do a split of two 10-acre lots and a 20-acre. Again, we're just asking for 20 split. We don't want it to be any smaller than that. And the HOA covenants again does approve it. When this development was set up, they put into measure all of the adjoining properties for the wildlife. And that included, the ranch surrounding it. So there's plenty of water and pasture with all of those nature preserves around us. And it would not harm the wildlife to build a small home on that 20 acres because of that. And I'm sure that the federal, state, and county considered that when this development went into play and all of the water around it. So that's what we're asking for. And we're just hoping that we can, see that is made possible with your help.
Thank you, Ms. Barnard.
Okay,
Appreciate
thank
it.
you.
Anybody else in the room on or against? Yes, sir. Come on up, please.
Good morning. My name is Stuart Schmidt. I live at 78 Twin Buttes Vistas. And it's on the Wild Horse Ranch. It is directly south of Tammy and Roy's property. I'd just like to say, I bought my property, my wife and I bought our property out there 21 years ago. They were 80-acre parcels at the time. Wild Horse Ranch came in and it went from 80 acres to 40 acres. I feel as though that is a perfect compromise. The property that is just east of the Barnharts is their daughters and son-in-law, which they have fenced their 40 acres completely. They've built a beautiful house and they're in the process of building a beautiful barn. They have a riding arena and they're with the possibility to graze their animals on the remaining property other than the buildings. To me, that's the ultimate setup. That's what it was designed to do. That's what they're doing. Perfect scenario. My fear is we start breaking these properties into 20 acres, 10 acres, 2 acres. You know, where does it stop? And that's not the design of the concept as far as I'm concerned. 40 acres is 40 acres. We don't want, you know, we're here, we don't want anybody there. That's not our premise. Not at all. 40 acres, 40 acres. What it was designed to do. To me, if it's got to be developed, that's the answer. Where does it stop? Now it breaks to 20 acres. Somebody buys a 40-acre parcel. Hey, I'm going to cut it up into tens. Does I cut it up into tens? That's my fear. Where does it stop? This is the precedent. You know, the wildlife is making a comeback. And yeah, I just think the ultimate plan of the 40 acres is a good plan. Let's stick with that. And then there's I'll live in peace.
Thank you, Mr. Schmidt.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Please come on up.
Hey, morning, guys. My name's Tad Stout. I'm property owner at 215 Lake Hattie Road. I wanted to commend the Albany County Planning Commission for denying the Barnhart request. I agree with their position on denying the request for the following reasons. Basically, I'm from Colorado, where I've seen what happens when you don't make wise decisions as far as planning and zoning changes and smart development plans. Basically wanted to hit on a couple of the items that the Planning Commission, the Albany County Planning Commission stated in their reasoning for basically the Planning Department forwarded recommendation and the Commission forwarded denial of this. A couple of things. Basically, I felt that the maps and the scope of what was originally presented in the Barnhart's plan and by the planning staff was very narrow in scope and short-sighted. Basically, they reference the properties to the west, which are not covenant protected and are private properties, as being basically comparable to the Wild Horse Ranch, which has 370 lots, 40 acres in size, which is zoned agricultural. They're making that comparison to the neighboring properties, which are very narrow in scope right across the street. I felt that the overall plan could have included the entirety of the Wild Horse Ranch, which would have been better for the decision makers to see that this process of breaking up the land into smaller parcels is not something that's would be acceptable to the current land use and the current design. Wild Horse Ranch has been marketed and sold as 35 and 40 acre parcels since its inception. I don't feel that it would be appropriate to break it down into any parcels smaller than that designation. The second thing is that the future land use map 310 depicts the land as rural residential. However, the ACCP shows the area as a priority growth area of 4 to be served largely and sparingly by gravel roads and low levels of public service, i.e. police, fire protection, school bus, enforcement of health standards, etc. As a result, they have a relatively low growth efficiency rating, meaning the provision of public services to these areas is relatively expensive. And they also note there that active agricultural or environmentally sensitive areas, conservation and protection of agricultural operations and wildlife habitat and sensitive lands is a high priority in this zone. So I'm kind of coming back to this deal where they say that it's rural residential, but you're going to say that if you change the zoning to rural residential, you could break it down into parcels as low as 5 acres. If you're going to do that to the land, why would you then go ahead and say that this is this sensitive zone, and then you're going to go ahead and say that it would be acceptable to parse it up and put more homes and more disturbance in that area? To me, it just seems like something that needs to be cleaned up in either the future land use map or the comprehensive plan. One of my comments on that. And then I actually don't believe that, in fact, that the Barnharts actually met the requirement to actually have this meeting or the previous meeting that they had. They did not adequately or properly sign I actually found out about this proposal from a neighbor. Per the code, I'll actually read it to you here. Signage, the applicant shall obtain at the time of application submission one sign to be placed along and clearly visible from a public road abutting the parcel. The sign shall state the parcel is being proposed for a zoning district amendment and shall be posted at least 14 days prior to consideration of proposed zoning district amendment before the Planning and Zoning Commission. Now, the applicants did in fact place a sign on their parcel, but they placed it on the east side between their home and their daughter's home, which is 2,500 feet from a public road. And it's, they're locked gates on the west, code gate on the south. So there was no way, and I honestly believe that was deliberate. The public, so the surrounding landowners, unless you would read the, 150 point font in the public notice in the newspaper, which I don't know about the rest of you guys, but I don't read newspapers. Half of it's what's in there is garbage in any case, but any case, that's neither here nor there. So the way that we found out about it was some of the people that received the certified communication from the U.S. Postal Service. That's how we learned about it. So I feel that it would have been more upfront to place that sign on a public road where it belonged. I feel strongly that in future applications of this nature, because you guys are going to see a lot of them from the Wild Horse Ranch, I would recommend that the Planning Commission states that each one of those owners in that parcel, if you're gonna be an owner in Wild Horse Ranch and you're gonna divide your property, you should send a registered communication to everybody in that deal. Since it's an HOA, since it's a covenant protected community, 66.6% of the people in there need to decide to change something in there. Why wouldn't you involve everybody in that community? Why wouldn't you bring a letter that states, hey, we have the support of this community to do this? Why wouldn't you put the sign right up front where the rest of your community can see it and you can comment on it? To me, it just seems, like I said, I think we're ill prepared to make this decision. I think the Planning Commission has stated that they have gaps in their own rules as far as like the acreages and everything else. Wild Horse Ranch says it's 10 acres. Rural residential says it can be broken down as small as 5 acres. If you approve it, you're approving the zoning change, right? So the zoning change has a specific set of rules that are in there. Set states in the covenants in the Wild Horse Ranch that yes, it's 10 acres, but it's also subject to the approval of planning, zoning, and the commissioners. So to me, there's some dirty areas in there that need to be cleaned up before you as the decision makers have a very concise way of making that decision. That's what I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stout. Appreciate it. Yes, sir.
Hi, I'm Roy Barnhart. The road he's talking about, that I do have that sign on the County Arnold Road right there, a named road. It's not on the Twin Views, but it's on, well, I got the sign on the road on the side of the property that we're wanting to split and get rid of. And as far as my daughter, and he was talking about how nice a barn, riding arena and all that stuff, and they're 100% for us splitting the land. So, and another thing is, he's talking about property, BLM has 4,458 acres right there on the ranch and around the lake. State property right there is 14,691 acres. Medicine Bow National Forest has got 221,520 acres right connecting to the Wild Horse Ranch and all this. So there's plenty of land there, for wildlife and all that stuff. There's actually 1,400 BLM acres that actually joins the lake property, so there's not just private land that's joining the lake. So I just wanted to bring that up. And the sign is on a public road right there. It's a named road. I just, we own 40 acres. We just want to split 20 acres and get rid of it to help us financially. And, I thought this is the United States. I thought I owned the property. Why can't I split my property, And we don't want little small acreages there either. And besides that, a lot of the people that are here with Stuart as friends, they live right on the lake and they live in little 1 and 2 acre lots with houses. So all that's already been done right there, so It's just, I
So
just,
I have a question.
sure.
Is the land that you want to split, is that above or below the high water mark?
It's above. Yes. That's all I've got. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Barnhart. Anybody else in the room on or against? Yes, sir, please come on up.
Good morning, board.
Morning.
My name is Martin Miller. I live at 297 Lake Hattie Road. I just have three quick comments to kind of make here. Number one, some things are not for sale. And my reference to that is in the Fabric of Life, in the Big Hollow, Wild Horse Ranch, and also out at Lake Hattie. I personally don't see any need for any increased density out in that area. There's plenty of space out there, and increasing the density out there just personally doesn't make sense for me. I wish I knew the answer. I don't know how many other owners have established 20 or 10 acre precedents in the Wild Horse Ranch. Tammy mentioned today that somebody else has clearly gone down this route. I don't know. I think 40 acres is what was designed to be out there. And what I would like to continue to kind of see out in that area. The third thing is on infrastructure. I don't think power is generally an issue out there, but fire protection, where does this lead in the future towards, needing, a firehouse or any of those type of things, and all the things that we know of the general overall impact, and use of resources out in that area due to the increased density. And the final thing that I'll say is I respect everybody's property rights involved in these type of things. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Anybody else in the room? On or against? How about online? I don't expect they'll be online, but
Could I make some other comments?
we'll come back. Yeah, sure, come on up, please.
And I appreciate everybody's comments and their rights. Like my husband said, we bought 40 acres and the HOA does approve us to do this, which is also our right. This is our retirement residence, and there's a housing shortage, as you all know, greatly here in Laramie. And I think that is only going to help another family be able to enjoy all of this and live in harmony with the animals and the wildlife areas that's been designated for us. As far as it cannot be broke down in any way to 1 or 5 acres regardless, because that would go against our HOA regulations. They do start at 10. Again, that's not what we're asking for. We did place up a sign and put it in an area, and the gate at that time was wide open for people to come in and see that area. We followed all the guidelines by the county. The county checked on the sign when we put it up, where it was put up. And it was also, as I said, in the newspaper. The fire departments, we do have 2 that are very close already. I don't see that as a problem. We're only 20 minutes out of Laramie. Those are the other things I kind of wanted to touch on as going with the rest of the comments. So, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Barnhart. All right, how about last call in the room and online for comments for or against the Barnhart Zoning District Amendment ZDA 0124.
Thanks, sir. One more question. Would you like to see a picture of where the sign's at? Would that be helpful?
Commissioners?
Cause it ain't on a public road.
It's not on a public
It's behind the
Right
lot.
on the road with it.
I think it was described where it was.
Would you like to see a picture?
Yeah, I'd like to see it. That way we can.
It's on Calistoga Road on the ranch. We couldn't put the sign on somebody else's property.
Yeah.
We did place the sign where we were supposed to by the county rules.
As long as if none of us touch anything in the wrong place.
So that back here where the power pole is public road. That's Roy's house right here. His daughter's house is right here. That's 2,500 feet from a public road. Is placed on a private road.
That is a public road.
That's a private.
It's not, it is a locked gate. You have to have a code to get in from the
Well,
south.
so
and it
is the other road.
Padlocked from the west. You cannot access the public. This is not, this private ranch roads, not a public road.
Okay.
So per the rules, it has to be posted on a public road. That is not posted on a public road. That is private road between two private residences.
Behind locked gates.
Yes, behind locked gates.
No, there's no lock.
Those gates are, the one's been wide
There's one
open.
code and there's one.
I could actually show you the picture of the locked gate too, if you'd like.
The lock-
That's all right. We will, we'll, talk with our planning.
Okay.
department.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For reasons.
Commissioners, I entertain a motion to close the Barnhart zoning district amendment.
So second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye. That motion carries. I'd like to open up the Olson zoning district amendment ZBA 01-24. Anybody in the room on or against the Olson zoning district amendment ZDA 0124? How about online? That's called in person and online for the Olson zoning district amendment ZDA 01-24. Commissioners, I entertain a motion to close that public hearing.
So move. Second.
It's moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye. Aye.
Aye, that motion carries. Item 4, comments from the public. Would anybody like to make a comment from the public? Not in the room. Online? Last call for comments from the public. Commissioners, I entertain a motion to close the public comment.
I move that we close the public comment period. Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye. Aye.
Aye, that motion carries. Disclosures. Commissioner Jones, any disclosures this morning?
I do not believe so.
Commissioner Rivera?
I have none.
And I have none also. 6, considerations on changes to the agenda.
Hello,
Good morning, Kim. How are you?
Good, thanks. I was wondering if we could add an agenda item about approval to lock our doors on Friday, July 12th for Jubilee Days at noon. I know that my failure to plan is not your emergency, but I have an appointment at 11 and I didn't realize that it's July already. So if we could have it at the beginning of the meeting, I'd really appreciate that.
Commissioners, or Elaine, it's a big place to put it. How about let's do it, 8A, I guess.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. I don't know why I'm just.
Thank you, Bailey.
All right, I actually have a few changes. First of all, I need to remove item 23. That agreement was supposed to be here and it's not yet. It was coming via FedEx. So I'll just push that to your next meeting. I also need to remove item 35 and 36. We're gonna push those to your next meeting as well. They're just not quite done. A couple comments came up yesterday that we want to add in at the department head meeting. So we'll add those in and get them to you. And then I need to add 2 agreements. One is our adult drug court agreement with the state, and the other one is our juvenile drug court agreement with the state. I just got those agreements yesterday afternoon and they want it back ASAP. That's it.
Okay, why don't we add the adult at 22A and the juvenile at 22B?
Sounds great.
Please. Thank you. Any other changes to the agenda? All right, item 7, approval of the consent agenda. Commissioners, I entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the consent agenda. Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye. That motion carries. That moves us to the regular agenda, page 2, midway down. Item 8, present for approval. Transfer of restaurant liquor license from Old Corral Mountain Lodge Incorporated doing business Old Corral to Old Corral LLC doing business as Old Corral Hotel and Steakhouse. Kayla, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. I bring forward a transfer of a liquor license. At the last meeting, Old Corral renewed their liquor license. They did close on the 19th, so the new owners would like to transfer the license. Instead of doing a transfer and a renewal at the same time, they waited until, so this will become effective on 7/10 when the new renewal or when the new period starts, so that they don't have to do a renewal and a transfer at the same time. It's very funky. The laws are very weird. But when you do it that close to a renewal, it makes it really hard to do a transfer. So they waited. So this new license will go into effect on July 10th, and it'll go for the full year, and then they'll just renew again next year as the new owners. There is a lease agreement between the current the new owners and the past owners so that they can operate in this time frame until this was transferred. So everything's been reviewed by the county attorney and also by the liquor commission and by the sheriff. So look, no questions on
All right.
that.
Thank you, Kayla. Any questions, commissioners? Entertain a motion for item 8 then, please.
I move that we approve item 8 as presented. Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye. That motion carries. 8A was the Albany County Public Health, closed the doors at noon on July 12th, is that?
Yes. So, I totally forgot that Jubilee Days is starting very soon. The carnival is starting at noon on that Friday. I did decide to not close during farmer's market just because we'd been closed for that construction and whatnot. But for Jubilee Days, I feel like it's a totally different animal, a lot more people, and we are in that area of the open container. So additionally, I will be out of the office. I'm actually going on vacation, which is kind of crazy, but
Timing.
I know, right? So I just feel like if we could lock the doors, it would either be they take vacation or they're there doing their 4 hours just to keep them a little safer. I don't know, less like traffic coming through, just because it is a large, it's a large crowd that comes down, which is fantastic, but, yeah, so it would, no cost, just asking for approval to lock the doors. And then
Thank you, Kim.
On that day.
Commissioners, any questions?
No.
I'd entertain a motion for 8A then, please.
I move that we approve to lock the doors at Public Health on Friday, July 12th for Jubilee Days. Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
thank
That
you very
motion
much.
carries. Thanks, Kim. 9, take from the table, resolution 2024-015, vacating the north 36 feet of First Street along the south boundary of block 55 of the Centennial Plat.
I move that we take from the table this item. Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye. That motion carries. 10, present for approval, resolution 2024-015, vacating the north 36 feet of First Street along the south boundary of block 55 of the Centennial Plat. Direct the chairperson to sign the 3 associated quitclaim deeds, transferring the vacated properties to the adjacent landowners, and direct the clerk to record the quitclaim deeds in land records. Jennifer, I see you on.
Good
Are you all
morning.
right? Talk to us a little bit, or?
Yep, I'm good to talk to you a little bit here. I can't get my camera to work. I don't know what's happening, but I'm good this morning. So this is that tabled vacation from last time. And at your request, we were going to reach out to the Taylors, who are the ones who operate the cafe there and are in the process of buying the property under a lease, I believe, from the record owners. And I spoke with Dave Taylor last week, and I believe he's also in the room to speak with you today. And he can explain more, but essentially they got the letter that said the vacation was in process. It was the 30-day notice of objections letter that always says if there's no objections, then it would just be approved. And after 30 days had passed and they didn't hear anything, they just thought that it had been approved. And that's why they went ahead and put the pad on there and built, or didn't build, moved in that tiny house structure that was there. It was a prefab structure. He was also unaware that they needed a building permit, or a zoning certificate, as we call it, since they didn't build it. It was a prefab structure. He is also, I heard from David Gertz yesterday, and Mr. Taylor was in the planning office yesterday to find out what he needed to do to get that tiny house structure approved appropriately. And David gave him information on the conditional use permit application, as well as the information that he would then have to apply for a zoning certificate. And I think that's all I have, unless you have questions of me, and then I would ask that Mr. Taylor can answer any questions you may have of him.
Thank you, Jennifer. I appreciate it. Commissioners, any questions of Jennifer? No. Mr. Taylor, or come on up, please.
Good morning.
Good morning. Yeah.
Big mistake. Apologize for that. That's when we got that letter, that's what I truly believe, that you folks passed it and went through the thing, and I assumed it'd just be recording the taxes or whatever it is. So I hadn't started. We had local contractors. We wanted to use people from Albany County. They were available, and if you've ever had anything, you know that getting a contractor in summertime is hard to do. Like she said, I went to talk to David yesterday and trying to get everything right.
Well, thank you, sir. Commissioners, any questions?
So what's your plan now? Where are you gonna go from here?
Get everything right. Permitting and
Get all the boxes checked?
yes, ma'am. Yes. I wasn't trying to, that's what I truly thought, that and that's the only thing we've got from the county. And Jennifer, I talked to her last week, and she did mention that this is an unusual circumstance of 3-person vacate. She said was unaware if that's ever happened. And the next time if it comes up, we'd probably you folks would have to figure out maybe a different way to do it, or maybe we should have done it individually. I don't know.
Mr. Taylor, were you made aware of your error by residents out there, or how did this come to your attention?
One of your meetings here.
Like the last meeting?
I believe it was.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Yeah, so it was really difficult for me to not just deny it last meeting, I'll have to tell you. It is incumbent on the petitioner to understand the rules. We need probably to be a little clearer, so we're going to clean that piece up from the county. But to not have somebody build on land they didn't own officially, and then also to not have a building permit was really difficult for me to look past. And still thinking about the looking past of it right now. And I understand, but what I don't understand is the building permit, the lack of a building permit. That is kind of surprising to me.
Yeah. I had a guy tell me it was a pre-built building, but now I know wasn't right. and trying to fix that.
I can appreciate some confusion that you've gone through. I'm not as hard as Pete is on this, and I would really have liked it if you'd gotten everything all taken care of, but people do make mistakes from time to time. And I'm appreciative that you came in here today, and thank you.
Welcome, ma'am.
Anything else? Sue?
And David, so he's on the road to correct process here?
Yeah, so he was provided the applications that will need to happen, which there's actually 2 applications that he'll need to do. One of them is a conditional use, the other one is a zoning certificate. So that has been provided. I haven't received anything back, but that was just yesterday when I provided those applications.
Thank you.
And Mr. Taylor, do you feel comfortable that you know the process going forward?
Yes. I do now.
Yeah. Commissioners, any other questions? All right. Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Appreciate you coming in today. Really do.
Thank you.
All right. David, anything you need to add to that, to the discussion that wasn't touched upon?
I think so. I think that's information. If you have questions for me, I'd be happy to answer them.
Okay. Is there anything that needs to be done before the Planning and Zoning Commission on any of the things Mr. Taylor needs to do to be approved?
So with the conditional use application, it will require a public hearing and go through Planning and Zoning Commission, a public hearing before you. So it's not something that's going to be done tomorrow. It's probably going to be 2 or 3 months before we get through that process. If that's approved, I should say, then they would turn in the zoning certificate application for the building. And the reason it needs a conditional use is in our regulations, it requires a conditional use for a single family home within a commercial district. And so that's why that extra step's there.
Yeah. Thank you. Please don't make it worse, Mr. Taylor. Stop and let's get this done and let's get it all correct and then we can move on. But I wouldn't advise continuing this. So commissioners, I'd entertain a motion for item 10, please.
So what we'd be doing is approving the quitclaim,
Yep.
correct?
Yep.
I move that we approve item 10 as presented. Do you need to direct the clerk to record the quitclaim deeds in land records? Second.
So moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Do we need to direct me to sign on that?
Yeah, it's.
Motion, will you accept that?
Yes.
Second. Okay. Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you all. Appreciate it. 11, take from the table restated Albany County Employee Handbook. Anissa, good morning.
Good morning, commissioners. Yeah, we need a motion to remove it.
Motion.
Oh, excuse me. Yeah, could I get a motion for item 11, please?
So moved. We take that, the employee handbook, the Albany County handbook from the table. Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Item 12, present for approval, restated Albany County Employee Handbook. Anissa. thank
Good
you.
morning, commissioners. Thank you. I'm back again. We had some discussion yesterday at the elected officials department head meeting regarding the vacation proposal of accrual. I think, I don't want to speak for any elected official or department head, but my impression of that conversation yesterday was that we are all now on the same page with moving towards accrual, or at least feel more comfortable moving towards accrual. I know that that was one of the hangups that this board had with the new handbook. So I'll stand for any questions regarding any of the handbook.
Any questions, commissioners?
So Anissa, you are saying that all the departments had basically signed off on the new.
That was the impression that I received after the conversation. Kayla,
Seemed pretty unanimous.
Okay.
And there'll be a transition year. This year will be the transition year.
Correct. Yeah, so that's your next.
From one regime to the next.
Yeah, so that's the next agenda item. A couple things I just wanted to point out really quickly, other than the vacation payout, is one change that we made is allowing employees to have 8 hours of volunteer time. In addition to any sick or vacation, obviously that would need to be approved by their elected official or department head. They can take that in an 8-hour allotment, a 2-hour, a 1 hour, however they want to do that with the approval of their supervisor. And then they would need to provide documentation from the organization in which they volunteered, just stating that yes, they were actually there volunteering. So I think that's a great way for our employees to be able to give back to the community. And then the last thing I want to point out is the vacation payout. We have stated in the new handbook that employee must work here for at least 12 months in order to receive a vacation payout. So that's something new as well. Which,
Still,
pardon me?
we're still going to exchange vacation leave, even monthly.
Oh, yes, sorry. Thanks, Matt. And then one other thing is we have made an adjustment. One of the comments that we received back from the elected officials and department heads were that they felt years 2 through 5 were not getting an equitable change. So we've increased that to 11 hours a month as well, since every other time slot received that, and Matt's passed that out. Thanks, Matt.
There was also a little bit of just verbiage issue. It referenced eligible part-time employees. Full-time employees are defined as anything 30 hours or above. So that was not correct. Just defined term. Right?
And their vacation accrual balance will also reflect if they're 30 hours or 35 or 32. So they won't be able to bank as much as a 40-hour employee.
So we were just to offer that as a friendly amendment to the proposal.
Commissioners, any questions for Matt or Anissa?
No, I think it's a friendly amendment.
Yep. Any last words, Anissa?
I just want to thank Matt again. He's really been a big help with the handbook, and we would not have a handbook in the condition that it is without his help. So
Thank you. Commissioners, I entertain a motion for item 12. If there are no further questions.
I move that we approve the rules of the Alpha County Employee Handbook with the friendly amendment.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Anissa, I'd like to thank you. I'd like to thank all the department heads and elected officials for collaborating on this. I know this is quite a change with lump sum to monthly accrual, but that does move us to most of the regular world and how they accrue. It also allows the county to not have liabilities throughout when a person turns into a new anniversary. So thank you. Hearing and seeing no more discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Thank you so much, Anissa. And 13, present for approval, resolution 2024-016, a resolution authorizing temporary negative vacation balances for employees. Please, Anissa.
thank you. This is just the resolution allowing during this transitionary period will allow employees to go into the negative and their vacation balance up to the maximum amount that they could accrue. We understand that employees may have had vacations planned banking on their lump sum. And so we don't want to penalize employees for that. If they were to leave the county and they had a negative balance, that would be deducted from their final paycheck.
Commissioners, any questions? Not, I'd entertain a motion for 13, please.
I move that we approve item 13 as presented.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Anissa. Appreciate it. Thank you. 14, present for consideration the Barnhart zoning district amendment ZDA 0124. David, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. So the applicants, I think you've heard from both of them, are Tammy and Roy Barnhart. Their address is 91 Twin Buttes Vistas Drive. This is out in the Wild Horse Ranch on the south side of Lake Hattie. They are requesting a change from agricultural zoning to rural residential. This project has been reviewed by a number of folks. Most had no issues. Laramie Rivers Conservation District provided information about soil and recommendations that any construction minimize disturbance to the soil and quickly reseed to avoid the spread of invasive weeds. The whole letter is attached. And then so one of the discussions that came up during the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting had to do with critical habitat. So I was directed by them to reach out to Game and Fish. We always send everything to Wyoming Game and Fish. Some of them they choose to respond to, some of them they don't. Usually they focus their comments on subdivisions. Where this is a zoning change, I'm guessing that's why they didn't respond. But I did reach out to them and I did get a hold of their habitat protection program biologist, Lauren Throop, and she said that there is some pronghorn crucial winter range around Lake Hattie, but it is to the west and north of the reservoir. The site in question is located outside of those habitats. So I did find that out. And findings necessary for approval. So there's a number of findings that the Board of County Commissioners needs to make. They did provide the application survey maps as required. Looking at the Albany County Comprehensive Plan, this area on the future land use map is actually rural residential, which is what they're asking to be changed to. It is also in a priority growth area 4, which is areas that are gravel roads, remote, low levels of public service, those types of things. And so low density residential uses are encouraged. And then the applicant went through a number of items and addressed those. Compatibility with surrounding properties. I'll just say that the Wild Horse Ranch area has been developed for larger lot residential uses. Much of this area is 40-acre lots. West of the property, there are a number of lots zoned rural residential with sizes ranging from a little over 20 or to an acre to 20 acres. In addition, there are over 40 lots around an acre in size around the Lake Hattie on the south side. So changing to the zoning on this property to rural residential is compatible with the use in this area. So I called this the Wild Horse Ranch area, and one of the comments that was brought up was this, some of those areas that are smaller lots are not Wild Horse Ranch. And that's true, they're not in that subdivision, but we look at the entire area and the closer vicinity. And so that was what those comments were. So it is correct to say that, yeah, these lots aren't in Wild Horse Ranch, but we don't just look at one subdivision. We look at the surrounding area. It doesn't matter what subdivisions they are. So
David, it would be accurate to say that then those smaller lots are not under the HOA requirements then.
Correct. Yeah, they may have their own HOA, but they're not part of Wild Horse Ranch. As like the property south is not part of Wild Horse Ranch.
All right.
So yeah. And planning and zoning, they had concerns about the potential additional density that was approved. That approval would allow. So we don't have there's not a zoning district that we can allow people to just like 20 acres, and that's the minimum right now, which is something planning and zoning is interested in and we're working on. Right now it's basically 5 to 34.9 acres that's rural residential. So you can go down to 5-acre lot size. So to say that, it could allow a lot more density, it's true. I mean, it could allow a lot more density. And I think that was one of the struggles that planning and zoning had with this application. And then consistent patterns of development. The area has been developed to allow large lot residential uses. The proposal would allow more density, but they're not changing the existing development pattern of the area. So it's not an agricultural area in any means. It's a large tract residential area. This is what we're looking at. I'm gonna skip over a few of these things. Well, natural resources. So that was where the discussion about habitat and those types of things came on. There is no special environmental designation for this area. If small wastewater systems are installed, it is required that they get approval of a small wastewater permit from the county. And then planning and zoning's comment was this area is critical at wildlife habitat due to its proximity to Lake Hattie. But after doing the review and talking with Game and Fish, the proposal is actually outside of those critical habitats. No cultural resources that we know of. What's being proposed isn't going to have much of an impact on traffic patterns and public services. There is a volunteer fire department that will serve this property. The rural fire station is approximately 8 miles from the property. So when it comes to, rural fire service, it's actually not bad. Yeah. Yeah. So just to go through my analysis and planning and zoning's analysis, the proposed zoning district amendment generally follows the suggestions of the Albany County Comprehensive Plan. The proposal to change this parcel from agricultural to rural residential is supported by the future land use map, which shows this area's future land use as rural residential. This area has already been divided into large lots for residential purposes. At this time, this area was subdivided, or at the time the area was subdivided, its use was for agricultural purposes transitioned into residential uses. More dense patterns of development do exist in the area. The zoning district amendment does not pose any significant impacts to surrounding area and is consistent with neighboring uses. There were public comments, and you've heard them today. The comments focused on impacts to the character of the neighborhood based on the additional density that this zoning district would allow if approved. And then Planning and Zoning Commission had concerns about additional density that zoning district amendment would allow if the property owner were to divide the property in a way to utilize the maximum allowable density. And then just the concerns about wildlife, Game and Fish cleared that up. So during the discussion, planning before their motion, they discussed opposition to an increase in the density the proposal would allow. They're sympathetic to the potential lot split, but with the change to rural residential, there's no way to stop a more dense development from occurring. Two members discussed potential impacts to wildlife due to the proximity to Lake Hattie. The motion was to deny this by Planning and Zoning Commission due to the decrease in density, the critical wildlife habitat, and that most or some of the adjacent property owners were opposed. And that vote carried. There was one dissenting vote. And then, so the recommendation that's been passed on is to deny the Barnhart zoning district amendment based upon the additional density that will be allowed, potential impacts to critical wildlife habitat, and comments from the neighbors opposing the application. Going forward, if you decide to deny it, I would remove that critical habitat just because Wyoming Game and Fish didn't confirm that was the case. One other thing I'll just address is, if I can find where I have it. So one of the things that was brought up obviously was the signage. The signage was placed on their property near a road, but it wasn't a public dedicated road. And this is what, let me read you this statement again. So this is the requirement. The applicant shall obtain at the time of application submission, one sign to be placed along a clearly visible and clearly visible from each publicly used road abutting the property. There is not a public road that abuts the property. Therefore, they placed the sign on their property next to the privately maintained and used roads. So, I mean, there's probably a little bit of issue with how this is written because maybe it was meant to be on a public road, but that's not what it says. It says a public road that's abutting the property, which does not exist. And so this happens all the time. You know, we have roads that are coming off subdivision roads, and a lot of times the roads are publicly dedicated. In this case, they're not publicly dedicated. They're dedicated for private use for the private landowners in there. But I also want to point out that there's two other methods. There's also the publication, and also the letters that go out to, adjoining landowners. So I think in the spirit of what these regulations, notice regulations are doing, that was met, and it met the spirit of what we're trying to do. Folks that are interested in this, I believe, are at this meeting. So I think notice did its job, and people are here. And if you follow the word for word what the signage says, we've met those as well. So
Thank you, David. Commissioners, any questions for David?
Questions?
Dave, just a clarification, rural residential allows down to 2 acres, with a average of 5. So somebody could conceivably have 5 2-acre plots, a 10 and a 20, and be within rural residential.
that's correct. When I talk about density, it's the average is what I'm referring to, but you are correct. They could do 2-acre lot sizes as long as the density or the average is 5 acres.
Yeah. And then what you approve, even though it might not be requested, but what you approve of zoning is what you should plan on, because there's nothing, if we were to approve this, there's nothing to stop 5 2-acre ability of a person to zone it into 2-acre plots for 5 of them.
I mean, they would have to come through the subdivision, you'd go through the subdivision process, but yes, that's correct. They could do that, yeah.
Okay. Matt, would you agree with that, please? Thank you.
Yes, and there's also has been comments about covenants. Those are essentially irrelevant to the county's purposes because the county is not a party to those. Those are private contracts. So it would have no effect whatsoever on the zoning or subdivision of the property for county purposes.
And David, I just want to make sure that I heard you correctly, that the planning and zoning is working on something different between 35 acres and as small as 2 acres, because that is quite a gradient.
Yes, Joe has been working on a project to split out the rural residential zone into, I think, 3 different zones, so that we can deal with some of these situations, because planning and zoning was sympathetic. To do a lot split, 2 20-acre lots, I don't think they may have voted for that. That may have been okay to them. They were at least sympathetic in their comments. But it's just that going down to the really small acreage in this area is what they're worried about, which that's what zoning is. Zoning is kind of implementation of planning, and these things can happen. In the past, we have approved these, so the board has approved these requests. But yeah, is it really that great? Because now some of these areas that maybe shouldn't be that small of lots could happen.
So correct me if I'm wrong. When you make an application, the application goes in, you're due the rules at the time of the application.
Absolutely.
Mr. Chair,
Yeah.
I was present for the P and Z meeting where they had the hearing, and most of the conversation was around the density issue. And they were aware that it's such a jump from going 40 to 5-acre lots and possibly even 2 acres. So they are in the midst of working on that. There were several landowners there, and not one was for this application to approve it. All of them were against it. I do want to point out, and Matt, if you can correct me if I'm wrong, but the Barnharts brought up private property rights. And my understanding is that property owners are entitled to all property rights offered to them by the designated zoning and the regulations that follow underneath that specific zoning. What they are not, do not have a right to is a zoning change. Is that not correct? That it's not an automatic. What they do fall under are the regulations that are specific to that zoning at that time.
That is correct. And there is a sort of growing body of precedent from the Wyoming Supreme Court, that zoning designation, changes in that are a legislative act, within pretty much the complete discretion of the governing body of the county or municipality. So no, it is not, at least under Wyoming law, a property right in that sense.
I mean, the one thing that I would just add to this is what makes it interesting or more difficult for me and is that the comprehensive plan actually shows this area as rural residential as it's appropriate to be this way. Which was just kind of interesting to me, but that makes it hard to make a recommendation against what that says, and but that being said, this is an area that is rural, so I understand where planning and zoning's recommendation came from.
Just to finish, that was the intent of this area all along, to be a rural area with larger lot sizes and all. Again, the conversation didn't focus so much on the critical wildlife habitat, even though they didn't have that information, they
Right.
requested it.
Yes.
So that's out, since it has been determined that
Yeah.
that critical habitat is to the north and west of the lake. The majority of the conversation centered around the density issue. And so I want to just make that clear that it wasn't based on wildlife habitat.
Awesome. And just my final thing, when I first started as a commissioner, I think we had a presentation by a fire team that served that area that said this is a Hall water district. And some of the roads made that a very dangerous place to provide fire services in the Wild Horse ranches. I think if we want more density, then that has to change. I don't feel like we should make it more difficult and more dangerous for more calls, possibly with more density for people who are volunteer fighters. And so just a food of thought for the homeowners association. Those roads are difficult for our fire districts, and they have come publicly and said that a few years ago. So at least sections of those roads. So.
I believe that was on the Wild Horse Ranch. It was not talking about this area. Because on the Wild Horse Ranch, there were blind curves and different things because of all the hills. This area, I don't believe, fits in that.
All right. Well, any other questions, concerns? I'd entertain a motion for item 14, please.
I move that we deny the Barnhart zoning district amendment ZDA-01-24 based upon the additional density that could be allowed with this zoning change and the comments from the neighbors opposing the application here today at the planning, zoning, and emails we have received.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign.
Nay.
That motion carries. Thank you all. Appreciate you taking time out of your day. Thank you, Barnhart's. I think there'll be a possible solution in the future for you. So 15, present for consideration the Olson zoning district amendment ZDA 02-24. David, thank you.
Hey, Mr. Chair, Commissioners, Gene and Cindy Olson are the applicants on this project. Their property is 375 South Kiowa Street. The size of the property is about 3.5 acres. They currently have a home and other structures on the property, and their current zoning is small lot residential. They would like to change this to urban residential. That's the request that's before you today. Properties to the east, north, east, west are residential properties. One lot to the south is owned by the county and has an historical structure from old Fort Sanders on it. The other lot is commercial property. This application was sent out to all of our reviewers. We did receive a few back. Road and Bridge, Rob Fisher, superintendent, commented saying that the South Kiowa Street is a deeded county right-of-way, but is not a county road. It is not maintained by the county road and bridge department. And then the Laramie Rivers Conservation District had some comments about soil and invasive species. And the Water District did say that the district has a water line in South Kiowa Street, and the district has capacity to supply water for the proposed subdivision, even though this is a zone change, just saying. Those were the interesting ones. Findings necessary for approval. Let's see. The comprehensive plan does show this as Pride Growth Area 2 represents a second ring of development that includes logical, cost-effective areas for the county to grow. Primary residential uses are envisioned in association with Pride Growth Area 2 locations. The growth plan comes into play in this, and this area is designated estate residential. Primary uses recommended for this designation are detached single-family dwellings with a suggested one dwelling per 2 to 5 acres. They went through the list of impacts, compatibility with surrounding properties. This area includes a mix of uses, including residential and non-residential uses. Much of the property south of South Kiowa Street includes commercial uses. West of Fort Sanders Road includes mostly industrial uses. The area to the south or to the north of South Kiowa Street are all residential, and lot sizes range from less than 1/4 of an acre to 5 acres in size. And this proposal should not pose an incompatibility problem. Consistent patterns of development. The area includes small single-family residential lots, commercial uses, and industrial uses. The proposal is consistent with the density of the developed neighborhood, neighboring residential lots. And the existing pattern of development will not be impacted by this proposal. Skip down to cultural resources. There's actually a cultural resource next door. It's got the guardhouse down there, but the impacts this neighborhood's already basically developed, so there shouldn't be any additional impacts to cultural resources. So this could, or the change to urban residential would allow basically 3 lots if they decided to go to the whole density or to do the entire or divide their property and what they could be fulfilled at 3 lots. And then public services, there's a Albany County Fire District 1 station is about a 1/2 mile from the property. The property is also served by the sheriff's office and has utilities and public services in the vicinity. Just go through my analysis. The proposed zoning district amendment generally follows the suggestions of the Albany County Comprehensive Plan. This area is priority growth area 2 and is logical, cost-effective area for further development. The potential increase in density that would be allowed if urban residential zoning is approved is consistent with the area. Most lots along the north side of Kiowa are 1 acre or less in size. On the south of Laramie Water and Sewer District can provide water service at the property. The zoning district amendment does not pose any significant impacts to the surrounding area and is consistent with the neighboring uses. I would just add that this is, if you're doing infill development in the county, this is what it would be considered. It's right in the middle of already developed properties. And it wouldn't add much to it. So Member Ben David has expressed concerns for additional density in this area because of the public health concerns. She specifically mentioned concerns with noise due to the proximity to the railroad and air quality due to the proximity to nearby industrial areas. And then the motion was made by Member Platt, who moved to approve the Olson zoning district amendment, adopting and incorporating the staff analysis, findings, fact, and conclusions of law as each are stated in the staff report. And that vote carried. Member Ben David voted no. So the findings of fact, findings necessary for approval and applicant response referenced in this report are adopted as findings reflecting that the applicant has adequately addressed the specified impacts and the same as are incorporated herein. Conclusions of law, the applicant is proceeding in accordance with and in compliance with the requirements of the Albany County zoning resolution. And then the ultimate recommendation for Planning and Zoning Commission was to approve the Olson zoning district amendment, adopting and incorporating the staff analysis findings of fact and conclusions of law as each are stated in this staff report. And with that, I will take any questions.
Thank you, David. Commissioners, any questions? All right, no questions. I'd entertain a motion for item 15 then, please.
I move that we approve item 16 or item 15 as presented. Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye. That motion carries. Thank you, David. 16, present for consideration the renewal of the 2023 mobile home park license for four-wheeler trailer park. Joe, thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, Commission. 2023 mobile home park license renewal for four-wheeler trailer park. Finally got the application fees in, paid the late fee, so.
It's nice to see the next item that they're
Sure.
on for 2024 on that. So Commissioners, I entertain a motion for item 16, please.
I move that we approve item 16 as presented.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye. That motion carries. 17% for consideration, the renewal of the 2024 mobile home park licenses for ACOL Niwas Mobile Home Park, Coronado Mobile Home Park, Country Meadows Estates, Flying X Ranch, four-wheeler trailer park, Laramie Mobile Home Park, Botanic Place, 60 Last Mobile Home Park, Troutman Mobile Home Park, and Vasquez Mobile Home Park. Joe.
Yeah, so 2024 mobile home park renewals. These all got inspected, turned in their application, paid the fees. I will add, there was an additional one that came in last week after the packets had to be in. And that would be Chaparral Gardens. So I would add that to the list if possible. And yeah, so hopefully it seems like the late fee is doing well. There's only 3 that we're missing, so I guess progress, maybe.
Yes, it is progress. Yeah. Commissioners, any questions for David on 17? And I will add Chaparral Gardens to that list. If not, I'd entertain a motion for item 17 then, please.
I move that we approve item 17 with the addition of Chaparral Gardens to the list of mobile home parks.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye. That motion carries. 18, present for consideration the full release of the certified check provided for the required improvements for the paddocks at Fort Sanders second filing, second edition. Joe, thank you.
Yeah, so John Evans, developer of the paddocks at Fort Sanders second filing, second edition, has requested a release of certified check. He is requesting a release of the whole amount of $54,750. Jake Schneider has provided comments and determined that all deficiencies have been corrected, and the planning department recommends full release of the certified check in the amount of $54,750.
Thank you, Joe. Commissioners, any questions? All right, John, thanks for being here. I entertain a motion for item 18.
I move that we approve item 18 and release the certified check provided for the required improvements for the paddock at Fort Sanders second filing, second edition. Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye. That motion carries. Thank you, Joe. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
19, request a statement of the receipts and expenditures of the county during the preceding 12 months, setting forth the source and amount of all receipts and the purpose and the amount of all expenditures to be prepared upon reconciliation of all accounts by the county treasurer and the county clerk no later than September 30th, 2024 pursuant to Wyoming State Statute 18-3-515. Kayla, thank you.
It says exactly what it is. Just have to request it, and then Tracy and I get that ready. We advertise, and then it'll come back at a meeting for approval.
Commissioners, any questions?
No.
Not entertain a motion for 19, please.
I move that we approve item 19 as presented.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye. That motion carries. 20, present for approval. Thank you, Kayla. Contract between the Board of County Commissioners of the County of Albany, Wyoming, by and through the Albany County Youth Empowerment Program and Bennett Law Group, PC, for attorney services to participants in the amount not to exceed $750 from July 1st, 2024 through September 30th, 2024. Heather, good morning.
Thank you, Commissioners, Chairman. Before us right now is a new contract for Patty Bennett. She is our defense attorney for our youth empowerment program. Given previous conversations, the unknown status for our OJJDP grant, pending September when we're notified, this contract would go through our current contract, so extending her for the 3 months.
Commissioners, any questions? If not, entertain a motion for 20, please.
I move that we approve item 20 as presented. Second?
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye. That motion carries. And Heather, we have you for a while here, so
Yes, sir.
thank you. Present for approval, contract between the Board of County Commissioners of the County of Albany, Wyoming, by and through the Albany County Court Supervised Treatment Program and Bennett Law Group, PC, for attorney services to participants in an amount not to exceed $6,000 from July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2025. Heather, thank you.
Thank you. This is for our adult program for Ms. Bennett to provide our defense representation for our program. We have the SAMHSA funds, and so this contract would be for the next year.
Thank you, Heather. Any questions for Heather?
I have none.
Entertain a motion for 21 then, please.
I move that we approve item 21 as presented. Second?
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing that, all those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye. Aye.
Aye. That motion carries. 22, present for approval. Contract between the Board of County Commissioners of the County of Albany, Wyoming, by and through the Albany County Court Supervised Treatment Program and Corman Law LLC, PC, for attorney services to adult diversion program participants in an amount not to exceed $8,400 from May 1st, 2024 through April 30th, 2026. Heather, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners. This is for our new adult diversion program. One of the things I overlooked last year in the grant application and development of the program was the need to have appropriate defense services available for any of our applicants and participants. I have been conferring with a couple of different attorneys, making sure that we're following everybody's constitutional rights. So this would just create that formal agreement with Mr. Corman. He is a public defender for the state. His contract with the state does allow for a percentage of private collaboration, and so we would be still compliant with his agreement with the state and then allow us to work with him on an individual basis.
So thank you. Heather, any questions?
Heather, we've never worked with him before, have we?
We have not. He works with us very closely on our adult drug court program. So familiar with him. This is a new contract though.
I move that we approve item 22 as presented. Second?
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye. Aye.
Aye. That carries. We'll now move to the ones added here. Present for approval, treatment court funding contract between the Wyoming Judicial Branch and Albany County Board of Commissioners for the Albany County Court Supervised Treatment Program in the amount of $376,977.08 from July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2026.
Good morning, Commissioners. These are this is the agreement with the state for our drug court program. This is the state funds that the program receives. Just so you know that this program has moved from Department of Health to Wyoming Judicial Branch. So there are some hiccups that we're dealing with there. And they have also decided to move it to a 2-year grant instead of just a 1-year, which is great because it's the same application every year. So it'll be nice to kind of see how this works. But that's all it is.
Commissioners, any questions?
That we approve the treatment court funding contract between the Wyoming Judicial Branch and Albany County Board of Commissioners for the Albany County Court Supervised Treatment Program in the amount of $376,977.08 from July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2026. Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye. That motion carries. 22B, present for approval, treatment court funding contract between the Wyoming Judicial Branch and the Albany County Board of Commissioners for the Albany County Integrated Juvenile Drug Treatment Program in the amount of $200,602.08 from July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2026.
This is the same thing, but just for the juvenile program.
Commissioners, any questions? I'd entertain a motion for 22B, please.
I move that we approve item 22B as presented.
Second.
Then moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye. That motion carries. Thank you, Heather. Thank you, Bailey. 23 has been removed from the agenda. So 24, present for approval. Amendment 1 to the subrecipient agreement between the Albany County Commissioners and the Albany County Fairgrounds in the total amount of $32,764.75 fiscal year 24 Albany County Recreation Board funding through August 31st, 2024. Bailey, thank you.
So I talked to Taylor this week and they had originally put in at the rec board for to redo the washing racks. Well, the original person that gave him a quote, she's having a hard time getting a hold of to get them to come out and actually do the work, and she's gotten some other quotes and they have skyrocketed. So she was hoping to use the funds to buy just some more picnic tables. She says they were hoping to get like 11 more. I confirmed it with the rec board and that's fine. But she needs a little bit more time to do it. The current agreement ended on the 30th and she asked to have till August 31st to get through fair and then be able to order them after that. So.
Okay, so the cleaning racks are going away altogether.
Yeah, at this time. She may request them again for future rec board funding, but just not at this time. So, and it looks like they're still gonna have some funds that they won't use that I'm still working with the rec board on how we need to do this because we've switched rec board over to these agreements with us. And I just want to make sure we're following everything we should. And I'm sure I'll be back in front of you with that.
Thanks for that.
Thanks, Bailey. I'd entertain a motion for 24 if there are no questions.
I move that we approve item 24 as presented.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye. That motion carries. 25, present for approval memorandum of understanding between Albany County, Wyoming and the city of Laramie, Wyoming for emergency management services in the Emergency Operations Center. Sheriff Abelhans, thank you.
Commissioners, this is MOU for our emergency management coordinator to be located in the EOC of Fire Station 3. It's a 1-year agreement. And then there is a renegotiated price that the city is going to pay to the county to help supplement that grant that we have for EMA salaries. And so that increase is going from $5,000 city contribution to $10,000 this year. So, and like I said, the only difference is not only the amount that the city is going to contribute, but the length and the term of the MOU. Like I said, it is only a 1-year MOU. We will look at it again this time next year.
Thank you, Sheriff. Commissioners, any questions?
Yeah, Sheriff, is it just a 1-year agreement because of the financial commitment? So that could change every year.
It is, yes. This year when we were renewing our application for, I'm trying to remember say EMPG or SM.
EMPG.
Sorry, I can't get all of my acronyms together for emergency management. We did ask the city for, I believe, $25,000. They're interested in providing that amount, just not this year. There are some flooding issues that they're having at Fire Station 3. And so some of the surplus funding that they have at the end of this biennium, they would like to use to address the flooding at Fire Station 3. That does help EMA, since EMA is located in the basement and would be the first recipient of that flooding if it were to come through. And so
Working when you're slopping around, just.
There's probably a lot of equipment.
exactly,
Not to mention electrical. equipment.
it's not going, our luck, it's not going to flood when we're not using it. And so we did, we kind of made that compromise to where they would kick in a little bit more money this year, and then we would look at an increased amount that they would contribute next year. So, and hopefully that would be the amount that we could expect to have,
Going forward.
contributed from the city going forward with the expansion that we've done with that office and integrating them more into not only the county emergency management system, the city is a big part of that as well. So, and they're really receptive to that. But like I said, it's a 1 year so that we can, like I said, take a look at it again next year. Hopefully after all of the construction and flooding infrastructure issues have been addressed at Fire Station 3.
Thanks, Eric.
Thanks, Sheriff. I'd entertain a motion for 25 if there are no further questions.
I move that we approve item 25 as presented. Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye. That motion carries. Thank you, Sheriff. 26, present for approval, First Amendment to the Memorandum of Understanding between the City of Laramie, Wyoming, and the Board of Commissioners for the County of Albany, Wyoming for ambulance services. Jennifer, are you still with us? How you doing?
I'm all right. I'm hanging in there. This is a 1-year renewal of our existing contract for ambulance services that the city provides within the county. The renewal is at the same price as last year, which is $275,000. The city is in the process of renegotiating their contract with IMH, and they don't have that done. I don't think they're waiting for some kind of a report from the consultant that was hired. So the city has also approved this 1-year amendment if that is good with this board.
Thank you, Jennifer. Commissioners, any questions for Jennifer? If not, I'd entertain a motion for item 26.
I move that we approve item 26 as presented. Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye. That motion carries. 27, present for approval, contract between the Board of Commissioners of the County of Albany, Wyoming, by and through the Albany County Mental Health Board and Volunteers America Northern Rockies for gatekeeping services. Jennifer, thank you.
This is our annual contract with VOA. They provide gatekeeping services for our Title 25 clients. So we would ask that you renew it. And I believe Kristen Cavello is there also if you have any questions for her or for VOA.
Thank you. She is here. Thank you, Jennifer. Kristen, good morning. How are you?
Good, thank you. Good morning, commissioners.
Morning.
Any questions, commissioners? Could you explain just briefly the gatekeeping services?
Yes, absolutely. So we work in collaboration with Jennifer and Matt at the County Attorney's Office in conjunction with Ivinson and also our local law enforcement to help support individuals that move into that court-ordered directed outpatient program. Once they move in there, they meet with the gatekeeper, who is Megan Jackson, who's an employee with us at VOA. She goes up to BHS 3 days a week at minimum and attends their team meetings and gets connected with those clients right away from the beginning when they're in the hospital. She then wraps around them for support and follows them throughout the up to next 2 years to help support them with ensuring that they have access to the resources that they need to in the community, that they're stabilizing. And then she provides court update letters to the court every 3 months regarding how those clients are doing. She also works closely with the client's attorney as well if there's any issues that come up so we can help support those clients. She then in addition also provides a quarterly report to the mental health board regarding numbers and statistics of how we're doing so far.
The 2 years of tracking, does that seem sufficient?
Yes, for the most part, we've had a lot of people stabilize, and then if needed, they can go back through the process if we need to, or we can extend from there and go, reach out and say, hey, they need some additional support. We obviously encourage them to continue their resources and their services that they're being provided, so that even though they're going out of that gatekeeping contract and under that stipulation, that they are still moving forward with that support. So far, knock on wood, it's worked out pretty well. And that 2 years usually gives them a chance to be able to stabilize if they're looking to stay in this county. We do have a number of individuals that end up going to other counties or out of state and relocate to where they have maybe some additional support with friends and family.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Commissioners, I entertain a motion. Thank you for that, Kristen. For
I
item
move that
27.
we approve item 27 as presented. Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye. That motion carries. Thank you, Kristen.
Thank you.
for
We
being
appreciate the ongoing support.
28, present for approval, TK Elevator Corporation Gold Service Agreement for the Courthouse and Detention Center elevators. Jennifer.
This is a 2-year contract for TK to service both elevators in the courthouse and the one in the detention center. It's fairly standard from our other elevator contracts, but if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you, Jennifer. Commissioners, any questions? Entertain a motion for 28 then, please.
I move that we approve item 28 as presented. Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye. Aye.
Aye, that motion carries. 29, present for approval agreement between the Albany County Board of Commissioners and Ivanson Memorial Hospital for services pursuant to Wyoming State Statute 2510-101 through 2510-127. Jennifer, please.
This is our annual agreement with the hospital for provision of services to our Title 25 residents that are at BHS. Statutorily, the county is obligated to pay the first 72 hours of their stay at BHS, which is exclusive of weekends and holidays. So it can be at times be up to about 5 days instead of 72 hours. It's at the same price as before, which is the Medicare rate of $1,355 a day.
Commissioners, any questions?
No, but Jennifer, I think I have a clarification under Article 2 compensation and payment, item 4. Your fiscal year of July 1, 2024 through June 30th, 2024 is impossible.
I will fix it. Thank you for catching that.
Any other questions? Commissioners, I entertain a motion for item 29 then, please.
I move that we approve item 29. That's presented.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye, that motion carries. Item 30, present for approval Kroger opioid settlement subdivision participation and release form and authorize Kurt Britzius, Albany County and prosecuting attorney to sign. Jennifer, please.
So this is the latest of the opioid settlements that we have received. This is the very initial step that allows the county to opt in. We then participate as a subrecipient of the state, but if we don't complete this opt-in, then we don't get any funds once the settlement is ultimately dispersed. We're a ways from that. Kurt participates with, I believe, the other county attorneys and Bailey on these opioid calls. There's a whole series of calls that go on when we have these grants that have gone on. And as a side note, most recently, the U.S. Supreme Court overturned the Purdue Pharma settlement agreement because they didn't like the indemnification that was provided for the Sacklers, who are the majority shareholders of Purdue Pharma. So that settlement may get revised. We fill out all the paperwork to participate in that one. I don't think we're getting money from it yet, but if we get additional paperwork on that one in the future, we'll bring it forward as well.
Thank you, Jennifer. Commissioners, any questions? Jennifer, is it your thought that that'll have an impact on the settlement?
I don't believe so. The Purdue Pharma one was structured a little bit differently, and I'm not entirely certain, but within that settlement agreement with the, tens of millions of dollars or even $1 billion that was being paid out, there was some indemnification for the Sacklers, like individually. And I think that is what the court had issue with. I have not seen another settlement that contains similar provisions.
Yeah, thank you, Jennifer. Thousands of people die still around the country this year because of the opioid abuse. I entertain a motion for item 30 then, please.
I move that we approve item 30 as presented.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye. That motion carries. 31, present for approval, letter to Nancy Bartholomew, Laramie City Clerk, to allow Albany Lodge to apply for a catering permit for a wedding reception at the Gateway Event Center, 222 South 22nd Street on July 6, 2024, from 7:30 a.m. to 11:30 p.m. Kayla, thank you.
Good morning, afternoon almost. Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, this is the letter that goes to the city of Laramie. Albany Lodge holds their license in the county, therefore you guys have to give them permission to use their license within city limits. So the application for the catering permit is through the city of Laramie, and we send the letter just stating them that it's okay for them to use their license within city limits.
Commissioners, any questions? If not, I entertain a motion for 31.
I move that we approve item 31 as presented.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye. That motion carries. 32, present for approval, application for catering permit for Roxy's on Grand for a class reunion located at Black Fox on Welsh, 1000 Welsh Lane, Laramie, Wyoming, on July 13th, 2024, from 5 p.m. to 11:59 p.m. Caleb, please.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, this is just a catering permit for Roxy's on Grand. The city of Laramie has a letter on their meeting tonight allowing Roxy's to use their license in the county. So everything's good to go.
If there are no questions, I entertain a motion for 32, please.
I move that we approve item 32 as presented. Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye. That motion carries. 33, present for approval, annual compensation agreement between the University of Wyoming and the Commissioners of Albany County for the extension program that encourages the development of 4-H youth development program. Caleb, please.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, this is the annual compensation agreement for the youth educators. So that's Amanda Doherty's position. Half of it is paid by the university, half is paid by the county. We have the correct amount budgeted. Amanda sent this to me. As you know, she's on maternity leave. She sent it to me late last week, and we figured we probably better get it on. So, but we have the correct amount budgeted for this fiscal year. So we're good to go.
Commissioners, any questions? If not, I'd entertain a motion for 33, please.
I move that we approve item 33 as presented. Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye. That motion carries. 34, award the 2024-2025 Albany County Commissioners Renewal Scholarship recipient. Get to that spot. The renewal recipient is Catherine McGurven, with the alternate of Anna Ressler.
We never heard anything from the one you questioned. We had, I think it was sent to all commissioners, the young lady that evidently sent her application in. Cammie has worked with Adam. None of us have received it, so I don't know. I'm not sure where the disconnect was. Adam said that because it was far enough that he would check, but that if he had direct dates, I know Cammie's still been in contact with the young lady. I think too, moving forward, Cammie and I have talked that maybe in the in the award letter that we send the kids that get awarded the initial scholarship, to let them know that if their address is changed or anything is changed, to make sure that they let us know, because we're sending letters out to the last known address, usually is their parents' address, which is hopefully a good address, but people move. So maybe just trying to be a little more transparent with the kids about the responsibilities on their side. I'm not faulting this young lady. I'm not sure what
How
happened.
much is this response worth to you?
So I think, you know, just to maybe just make it a little clearer for the kids what their responsibility is on their side too. So I think we've done our due diligence. If you want to hold off, I think you're more than welcome to, but the committee has reviewed these two that were in on time. I think it's also the responsibility to, if you do email an application, and to follow up. As we all know how emails can get lost in the, in the world of emails. So I believe that we've done our due diligence on our side. I don't like any kid to go without being able the opportunity to have that scholarship, but I think there's also some responsibility too. So.
Can you remind me, how does this whole process work? We approved some recipients for their initial scholarship. So for the renewal, do we only pick one from the?
Yeah, so every year there are 3 that get, the Board of County Commissioners gets 3, and those are high school seniors going into college the next year. So there's 3 that are the initial scholarships that are, and it's $500 per semester. And then those kids that got the initial scholarship go in and get to apply for the renewal, but there's only one renewal. So, and I think they get 2 years to apply for the renewal. I think it's their freshman and their sophomore year. Cammie sends out letters to all of them that have gotten it in the past. And like I said, I think it's that little bit of responsibility on their side too, but, so that's how it works. The initial is the 3 seniors that would get it, and then the renewal is that freshman. But we do send those letters to those 3 initial scholarship winners and give them the opportunity to apply again for that renewal scholarship, so.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, Commissioners? Not entertain a motion for 34, please.
I move that we renew the scholarship for Catherine McGurven and have Anna Ressler as an alternative.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
That motion carries. Thanks to the scholarship committee for doing that work for us. 35 and 36 have been removed from the agenda. So 37 set a work session regarding the specific purpose tax. And then 38 is a special meeting. So I'm wondering maybe we could just combine those two?
I don't know, I mean, August 5th, I don't know if you guys all want to look at your calendars, if we want to set a time, you know, a meeting for the 5th and then a work session maybe following the meeting.
I will just point out, I do have funders from the state coming and I did reserve this room. but I can- Yeah, I can move it if I need to.
We can go in the morning.
Yeah, if you
For
guys
the
are.
mill levies, which is a half-hour meeting.
I don't even know that it'll take a half hour, but
Um,
yeah, unless something else gets put on that meeting at that time.
Commissioners, how about 8, 9 o'clock in the morning on the 5th?
9, yeah.
9?
Okay, that works.
Okay, August 5th at 9 a.m. And you want to also put the work session for the special purpose tax
Yep.
on that meeting as well?
Yep.
Okay. Me. And would you like the work session for the special purpose tax just to be internal county for this meeting? And then I will reach out to Nancy and to Rock River, Jody out there to see, because once we get into the further, we're gonna have to start having meetings between all 3 all 3 municipalities or governing bodies of the county. So if that's okay with you for the 5th.
Yep. Do those 2 things work for you, Kayla? What we need to do?
Yeah, they should be fine.
Okay. So I'd entertain a motion for 37.
I move that we set a work session regarding the specific purpose tax for August 5th at 9 a.m.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye. That motion carries. 38, set a special meeting on August 5th, 2024 to set the mill levies. I'd entertain a motion for that one.
I move that we set a special meeting on August 5th to set the mill levies at 9 a.m. Or do we need to have a different time?
We can do it at 9. We'll do it at 9 and then we'll just do it one after another.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye. That motion carries. Does anybody need a break before the executive session?
I'm good.
Probably good.
Okay. 39, executive session pursuant to Wyoming State Statute 16-4-405, Roman numeral 7. I entertain that motion, please.
I move that we move into executive session pursuant to Wyoming statute 16-4-405A, numeral 7 at 11:18. I can't see the.
Yeah.
Go back there above.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. That motion carries. We will leave regular session, entering executive session at 11:18. We will be back in a little bit, but we'll see you in just a few. Thank you.